Hi, I'm Michael Newrock, and welcome to today's video, the market analysis for the 10th of the 10th, or week starting the 10th of the 10th. That's the 10th of October to be universal. And as always, we're going to go through about 20 different charts on multiple time frames, see what's really happening in the markets. On the charts, you'll see three indicators that I use. Trend catcher, which these big arrows denoting inceptions of trend. Um, the smaller arrows, which is price flip, that they give us ideas of when the market is about to reverse, particularly when used in conjunction with a trend. And the horizontal lines here are the macro levels, which denote the key support and resistance levels based on the higher time frames. That's the weekly and the monthly, particularly. So we've got years of historical data that make up those levels, and they are really important to use, regardless of whatever strategy that you use. But obviously, with trend catcher and price split, they work extremely well. And of course, you can get them as part of your premium membership, included as a bonus. So, our hope really is that you take this market analysis, which obviously, as I always say, market conditions can change fairly quickly and fairly dramatically. But overall, these market analysis sessions are all about what's generally happening with each particular pair, all for short term and mid term, but particularly in the longer term. And that gives us an idea of how we should be trading, which usually is in the way of the longer term um, trend or direction in the market for that particular pair. So I'll just get straight into it. Here we are on the 1 hour time frame for the gold XAU USD pair. Now let's have a look at the weekly. Okay, the weekly is a really interesting chart this particular week because in around December last year, and certainly by January of this year, we can see that a new upward trend formed right at this intersection between the fast moving average and the slow moving average. And when the MACD changed from being below this horizontal line and above it. So that was important, and it stayed that way up until this week. Now you can see a new downward arrow has appeared for the trend catcher on the weekly. Now, just a word of a caution when looking at the weekly time frames. If you're looking at trading the weekly time frames, then you really need to have a lot of pips reserved for your stop because, of course, the market can move quite a lot over a week. But equally, the rewards are also much greater. However, trades of the weekly form are more reserved for institutions, positional traders, traders that are not intraday or intraday. They're looking at the bigger picture. Where is the price going to be in 6 months or 12 months? So it's more of that kind of strategy. However, we use it to our advantage by looking at the shorter time frames that we can trade, within the day or over a series of days, or a week or two. So right now we're in the right at the inception of the weekly downtrend on gold. However, it is not going to be confirmed until this candle here has actually closed, which of course will be next Sunday. So we have to go through all of this week. And you'll note the candle before gave us a price flip to the upside. So, is it going to go down straight away now? Well, it could, but we have seen a big fall this last week, so it very well could be working off this retracement and possibly giving us an even better opportunity at, say, around the 1284 macro level. So stepping down to the daily, we can see it still is in full midst of the daily downtrend, but it took a while to get there. It was up and down. So in other words, one, two, three false breaks to the downside of new trends forming before it finally collapsed just a few days ago. So um, now we see almost a reversal there, pattern form for the price flip. But again, I would be more interested in looking at a sell if the price was under 12.55 and fairly confidently under 12.55, and in other words meaning on say at least a 4 hour time frame and have closed and be a little away below that macro level, not just on it or just below it, because obviously there is some room for movement in these levels. Looking at the 4 hour, we see a slightly different story in as far as it's still in the midst of this 4 hour downtrend, but it has been experiencing a upswing. So late last week, we issued a signal on this intersection here. That was a new trend catcher trade to the upside, and it failed. It got a little way up, but then collapsed. However, that's trading, and it's important to be able to see those opportunities and go for them, and then be able to re-go for them. So having said that, a new 1 hour trend trade has formed just recently, just in the last couple of hours. It's just come out of Sunday time as I'm doing this video. So the temptation there is to go long on this new 1 hour trend trade. It's not too far above the macro level. It would be even better if it was closer, like it was here. But obviously that didn't go so well. So this could certainly be the one that moves up. If we see price fall back down to 12.55, then obviously it needs a little bit more of caution before going in. However, if we just get back to the 4 hour here, we can see that if this does intersect, we've got a new upward trend trade for the trend catcher. So that's the thoughts that are going on in my head. Do we go for another long here, or do we wait for either a price slip that closes above this macro level, if it is going to come back down and test this level at the very least, or wait for a new trend trade on the 4 hour time frame. So at this stage it is pivotal in which direction it would go. If it does go up, then unless it goes really significantly up, and I mean at least up to 1307, but possibly as high as 1345, we're going to see 1345 is here. That would void this downward weekly trend trade. But so if it goes above 1307, it's really danger signals for going short on the gold. If it does retrace upward to around that 1284, I think that might be a much better opportunity to go short again on gold, and with the mindset that there are many weeks and months ahead of us, and we could certainly see gold form in this weekly trend trade to the downside and continue that way, particularly, of course, if the US dollar starts to strengthen, which it has. A little bit of a hiccup with last week's figures that I think the market overreacted with. Unemployment is still very low at, I believe it's 5%, but 0.1 of the percent higher than what was expected, which caused the US dollar to plummet. But I see that personally as a temporary situation. So onward from gold, we've got the euro. Now we're on the 1 hour euro. We're on a current upward trend. And if you're looking at playing the euro here, it would be best to, on a 1 hour anyway, to wait for the histogram this red histogram to come down as close to this horizontal line and then swing up, showing a green histogram, preferably having it close. So if we look at the weekly on the euro, it is a lot more undetermined compared to the gold weekly that we took a look at. In as far as it had gone its weekly rally for many months, and certainly looking at if it closes at those levels that I was suggesting, looking at a possible weekly. With the euro, it's totally different. It's much more range bound, much more sideways. So it's inconclusive on the weekly of which direction this pair is going to go. On the daily, we can see more of a direction occur, but again, it's been real zigzag. We get again 1, 2 false breaks to the downside, and we get 1, 2 upwards. So a very hard time if you were trading the euro last week, unless you were going for the shorter term trades, the scalping, the get in, get out. But back to the daily, we're looking at a new trend trade having just formed to the downside. We've got a price flip, but an unusual price flip. I think that's come about as from the Sunday session, so I wouldn't play too much credence to that. But looking on the 4-hour, again, we've got a totally different view. I certainly wouldn't be looking at going short on the euro on the basis of the daily, but when we look at the 4-hour, we can see a fairly significant swing upward, and potentially a big move to the upside. So I think if it is going to go down, then we're going to need to see some action pretty quickly, because if price punches up past this crossover, which gave us this trend trade signal up towards 1270, then I think it would be all bets off on the short side, unless we see, say, a price flip trade on that macro level. If it moves above that, then that's a good clue, a good hint that it's going to go even higher. So on the 4-hour, you can see the possibility is there. If we do get a new trend catcher trade here, we could certainly see price move up to that 1270 and even beyond to that 1377. So on the 1-hour, again, looking at for a swing, or we go down to a shorter time frame, like the 15-minute is my favorite in the shorter term time frames. And here it is still looking a bit high. It's just not a pair that I would be looking at now. But in a few hours' time, depending on what the market does, it could give us a better opportunity. For example, if it did sink back down to around 1170, the histogram still above the horizontal line, this trend still in place, and as far as the fast moving average is above the slow moving average, and we get a swing up, that could be a trade to the upside potentially. All right, the pound. The pound. Well, we had a flash crash. If you weren't aware, you didn't flick on the news. We had a flash crash relating to the pound. It was a fairly chaotic moment there where the market dropped in 1 hour time almost 700 pips, around 680 pips. So not good if you're going long on the pound. Unfortunately, we did have 1 or 2 positions to that side, and the only good thing about it was that stops were in place to minimize the fall. But even then, many of you would have found from your brokers that it was so quick that the stop losses, even though they held credibility and authority due to the non-liquidity of the or low liquidity of the market at that time when the flash crash happened during the Asian session, that orders were fulfilled for that stop past where the stop was. In other words, they closed the trade for you lower than when the stop was, and that occurs very, very rarely. The last time I recall something like that happened was it would have happened if you're going long during the Brexit event, and of course when the Swiss had a referendum on gold, and all hell broke loose. And very, very rare. It's great to have stops. They are incredibly important. But on times like this, they can still provide obviously some sense of security, but not 100%. Okay, so on the weekly, we're seeing a big swing down. It retraced back to the 124.82 macro level, and I think it's it's requiring us actually to send out some new macro levels to the downside, because once again, some record lows have been broken, and we'll need to be able to provide that as soon as we can, dependent on the data that we have available. Again, when you're looking at unprecedented levels, either to the low side or high side, it is just that more difficult to determine what those levels may be, because otherwise they're based on historical data. So back to the pound, it's all down on the weekly, down on the daily, and down on the 4 hour. Now we've seen this consolidation. So what interests me about this is it's all been below this 124.82 macro level. So let's see. No, we can't on the weekly there. No, excuse me. So the way that I'd be looking at this is if the price went above 124.82, then there could be possibility for a a buy, perhaps to the on a shorter time frame like the 1 hour. But on the 4 hour, it's all down. So as we see this histogram form this parabolic curve, and then we see a swing. If we see a swing down to the downside, that could be a possibility for catching a swing down, particularly if it follows, say, an attack on this level and a price slip that reverses it back, that provides that swing. That would be the ideal trade setup scenario that I'd be looking at going short on the pound US. Euro pound, this hasn't changed for quite some time. On the 1 hour, we're still looking up, and on the greater sense on the weekly, it's just been up, up, up. So once again, we've broken almost broken some records here. We do have this 94.10 level just above there. We had a bit of a retracement, but that's not to be unexpected, especially after such a big move. So now on the weekly, it's up. On the daily, it's up. On the 4 hour, it's up. It's all up. So what I would be looking at, right now, the start of this new 1 hour trend trade was here, right? So we're already up 213 pips based on that signal there. Or even here would have been a good price slip to get into. Here you can see one on the correction too that did well. So you're looking for, in my mind, um, long trades that say bust through this macro level here, and you're trading it long up towards 94.10, or a move down and finding support at this 089.40 macro level with, say, either just a macro level or a price slip combined with a macro level. Okay, so Aussie. Aussie's been a bit of a mixed bag as well. If we look at the weekly, it's been similar to the euro, slightly different, but it's been wanting to bust through the 76 level that's been in place for a long time, as in years. So we're seeing a lot of these price flips occur, and it just keeps on hitting its head against the ceiling, not being able to get through. Eventually, like everything, one or two things is going to happen. Either the bulls are going to succeed with this, and we're going to see a new rally on the Aussie. Once it goes and closes above 76 confidently, we could see it rise to 78.49, or even back up to that 80-81 level, 81.63. A significant high at that point. So let's have a look on the daily. See, there's the mixed signals. We're slightly upward on the weekly, with downward or soon to commence a new downward trend on the daily time frame. On the 4 hour, it's down. We saw a little bit of a correction on market open, but if we get a swing down here, then there could be an opportunity to the downside on a 4 hour. However, my only caution there is it's fairly close to the 75.33 level. Which you want to, it's better to with macro levels, buy off the support and sell off the resistance. In other words, you only want to buy when the price is above, say, this level, and you want to sell when it's below this level, or below this level, for example. So if we see a move upward, say on the 1 hour, we could see a bit of a rally move upward. Then 76 is the golden number, and you can see that particularly again on that weekly time frame, where it's never closed above that level since since April of this year, but it was immediately pushed down the very next week on the strength of the level, and of course this big retracement giving us a price flip at the time to the downside. Okay, so Kiwi 1 hour, it's really been drifting, not presenting us any opportunities on the weekly time frame. Upside as well, a little bit stronger than the Kiwi, but still, it's been range bound pretty much between this, say, 71 to 73 level zone. On the 4 hour, sorry, on the daily, we're looking at moves to the downside, and on the 4 hour, again, we're looking at a possibility of a change. So here's how I would look at it. If it closes with a nice strong upward move and it's above 71.76 and fairly clearly above 76.76, then we could see a nice new 4 hour rally up to that 73.69. If it stays under 71.76 and it starts going sideways and then it drops down, then we could see a move to the downside, at least down to the 71.16 level. Okay. All right, Aussie Kiwi, looking at a possible new upward trade on the upside. The weekly is been to the downside, but we've seen these massive corrections. And on the daily, you can see that we're clearly in a daily upward trend. Again, on the Kiwi, we've seen some resistance at this 106.34 level. So we've had it touched multiple times here, never close above. So, to go long at this level would be risky, and I would suggest if that were the choice, then to move your stops to break even as quick as possible, because if we get resistance at 106.34, that's going to be a tough trade unless you're going long, of course. If it busts through 106.34, I should add. If it's finding resistance, then we could see a move to the downside again. So we could see a little bit of an overrun, and then a new trend trade on the 4 hour could possibly form. But right now it's been in a daily upward trend, so trade with that mindset, but only if conditions are appropriate, and lock in your profits as you go. Okay, dollar CAD made some nice moves upward. Not sure if we had one or two dollar CAD trades last week to the upside. Both went well. Not hitting target 2 or target 3. I think the last one. I think the one before did. But anyway, the market crashed on us after achieving target 1. After the data event came out with the US job figures. That really hasn't changed too much, but let's look at the weekly. On the weekly, we've got a new weekly trend trade forming. So, it's been drifting upwards, nothing, to get too excited about, but it does follow this massive, weekly run. And whatever's said about the US dollar or the economy, the US economy, it's still showing good figures compared to many other places, particularly right now the Eurozone and the UK, which has been getting a hammering. Aussie and Kiwi still strong relatively to other Western countries in the world, but back to the US dollar, weekly, but only slightly. If it gets over this 132.60, then we could be in business for a nice long run. Daily, we're in the middle of an upward daily trend. 4 hour, we're on we're still in the midst. Doesn't matter if it's come down. We're still in this 4 hour trend trade. So this is looking fairly interesting. If we get a swing upward, like over here, let me just point this out. Okay, so we had these red histogram bars, and then it changed green. Okay, that was the swing. This is actually an example of contradictory signals, because on one side you're getting an upward swing, which did well, but then on the other side you're getting a price flip. Now I should just mention again that you really only want to take the price slips when they're in line with the trends that you're taking, unless it's associated with a macro level. Like here, you get a bigger, and actually I should point out this wasn't really a big retracement, but over here you've got a nice big retracement. You've got two in a row. It's at a level, so this one did well. But back to what we would do now is possibly looking at a swing that closes above 132.60, and you could be looking at a new 1 hour trend trade or even a 15-minute. Here we go. We're in the midst of a 15-minute now, but it wasn't validated because the macro level, the histogram wasn't above the horizontal line, and right now I wouldn't be taking it because it's not above 132.60. If we looked at it on the 30-minute, it hasn't formed yet. So back to the 1 hour. We could have a bit of a correction still to go, and maybe even a testing of this recent low, which is where price went after the data event late last week on Friday. But overall, we're still long on all the signals are showing long, the 4 hour, the daily, and the weekly. So it's just a matter of getting in at the right time. Okay, dollar Swiss, downward on the 1 hour, very much sideways on the weekly, indeterminate. This is nice. We've got a new daily trend trade that's just formed, okay, on this bar here, and again, on this case, these macro levels are fantastic. If you haven't been using them, make sure you do, because they are great. So we found resistance here at that 98.39, and I'll just add, as I have in previous videos, but just for the new guys out there, these macro levels don't change very often. Every 2, 3, 4 months. Because again, they're based on weekly and monthly. Yes, there are support and resistance levels that you can find on the lower time frames, the 4 hour and the 1 hour, and even below that. But if you're trading those tiny levels, or tiny time frames, but we find that on these higher time frames, they work excellent, and particularly when used in conjunction with other strategies. So here we're in a daily upward trend. We've had a Sunday price flip, which I wouldn't take too much credence into, but it is upward. So we've got some nice gains over here to 98.39. We've got about 50, 60 pips, and that would be the critical level that I'd be looking at how price relates at that point. The 4 hour tells a slightly different story. Still technically to the upside, but it looks like it's exhausted itself somewhat. So one of two things are going to happen. This fast moving average is going to intersect over this slow moving average. A new 4 hour trend trade may occur, of which it may be a good idea to go short, particularly if price is under 0.9751. If it finds support at 0.9751, maybe a price flip trade to the upside towards 98.39. So we should just have to wait and see what happens with this trade. So if we get a new 1 hour trend trade, we could have an opportunity to go long again, as we did last week. Okay, dollar yen, downward, but shifting sideways on the 1 hour after a really nice big run. And the dollar yen was, I think, our trade of the month last month with, it was about 350 pips thereabouts. So on the weekly, very interesting chart. Again, we're looking at almost, but an unmatured version of the gold trade in reverse, where on the gold on the weekly it had just crossed over. Here in the dollar yen, it hasn't, but it's had a nice huge run upward. False break to the downside, false break to the upside. We get a nice huge run of it's like 2,100 pips on the dollar yen, and now we're looking still on the downside, but very much so. But there could be an opportunity here to go long, and if price is kept fairly buoyant here or even moves up, particularly if it moves up towards 105.41 or above, then we could certainly be, by the end of this week in a new upward trend trade on the dollar yen. That's very exciting because, we're now at levels where we were before the big upward move occurred a couple of years ago, back in good old 2014. So, this could be huge. The Bank of Japan wants to see their currency lower and continually worried about how high it is. Um, we could have, there's more consensus that an interest rate rise from the Fed could occur this year, if not November, even more highly likely December, which is the same month they did it last year. So we could see a real turnaround occur. And if that were the case, then it's long all week long. Like obviously got to pick your moments, but it could be another rally that lasts another couple of years, and just keep buying into it on the dips and the new trade trends. So okay, we're seeing here a fake daily. Well, it still did bring in quite a few pips, but didn't succeed, to the greater extent. Down again, and now, we're back on a new upward. So we're certainly swinging up on the weekly with a possibility of a great time for a new upward trend on the dollar yen in the greater term. We're upward on the daily. Okay. We are downward on the 4 hour. So, there's the conundrum there. It's or the paradox. So here we're looking at a fairly strong downward trend trade. So I would be looking at how price is going to react at 101.65. Is it going to bust right through? In which case, all bets are off, and we could be seeing further lows, or at least testing these recent lows. But if we see it supported at 101.65 and a new 4 hour trend trade occurring, that might be great because we're already in the daily the daily uptrend. So we see temporary correction here, and then a 4 hour move it back up. We'll still be in the daily trend without it having changed from upward to downward. So looking at the 1 hour, yeah, not a time necessarily to buy right now, but I think within a few hours, or whenever the market gets there, 101.65 is the level to look closely at for possible upward moves in the dollar yen. Okay, euro yen to the downside in the 1 hour. And we're going to see this in all of the yen crosses to varying extents. Excuse me. We're seeing a possible change, right, from the downward trend on the weekly since mid 2015 to move up. Now the euro isn't as strong, and you can see that it's suggesting that it's not that nice curve back upward that we like to see. Like here, we saw it to the downside, but 115.66 seems to be the battleground here. So on the daily, yes, we're upward there, but not necessarily the right time to buy unless we close above 100, excuse me, 115.66, but not like here when it was based on a price slip, or here or here or here. They were all rejected. So we want to see ideally a move up over 115.66. That's not showing a reversal pattern like a price flip. That's in this daily trend, and we could see a move upward. However, we're in the midst of a downward swing. So similar to the dollar yen, we could see a retesting of this 113.61 level, or a move down to that level before any further move upward. And again here, we're seeing a definite move on the 4 hour to 113.61. And that boat sailed, just a couple of bars ago. So still a possibility of getting in on the action for this one. But, it's important to realize that we're running on contrary signals here, and as far with the time frames, as far as strongly down on the 4 hour, but up on the daily. Okay. All right, so pound yen flash crash. All the pound crosses got got annihilated, hammered, absolutely hammered with that flash crash. I believe there was something that triggered it, a big order. It knocked out some stops, then the bots went crazy, and became like a nuclear reaction before before the market resolved itself. But 1 hour on the pound yen downward, um, it's much more pronounced. There's no signal here. There's no clue that the weekly is even turning around, particularly like the dollar yen so far. Uh, so the pound is certainly weaker, but we really are at oversold oversold zones. So the pound yen could benefit to the upside if other yen crosses pull go up and drag the yen down, which would have the effect of pound yen going up. So I'm really on the sidelines on this particular pair at this particular time. Okay, so we'll leave that one alone. Aussie yen on the 1 hour downward. Weekly, okay, this is a bit more interesting. Okay, again, like the dollar yen, we're seeing a bit of uh, possibility of a change in the air for the direction of the Aussie yen. Now, if the Aussie yen goes up, it's going to help drag the Aussie against the US. So watch out for that possibility as well. If the Aussie US is moving downward, then it's going to have a subdued effect on any upward move on the Aussie yen. Um, unless there is something significant that happens from the BOJ that really drives their currency down and lists other currencies that are paired against it upward. So on the weekly, we're looking at a possibility. It's just at the end of this week, but next week's session, we'll be able to know what happened. Is it going to go down, and is this crossover not going to occur, or is it going to move up to 79.40 or even above 79.40 and show a crossover? If that's the case, we're an upward on the Aussie. So potentially upward on the weekly, emerging as a new inception of an upward trend. Slow or sideways to down on the daily, but overall upward. 4 hour down and 1 hour down. So the first instance is to see a change in the 1 hour. If we see a change in the 1 hour, then it could be a possibility to catch, particularly if it's at a support level or a previous support level or a macro level. But while it's in the middle of this 4 hour, we're looking at a strong retracement on, I would say, price flip to to catch that to the upside. Otherwise, it's for the very short term down. If we do get a price flip to the upside on the 4 hour, okay, then it's in line with the daily, and we could see an upward movement. Okay, I'm just going to run through the rest of these because my voice is giving out a little bit. But Kiwi yen, the crossover has occurred, but very, it doesn't doesn't give a lot of confidence in its vibe. It's very flat. It's been followed by a daily price slip. Sorry, a weekly. That's for all of last week. It retraced on itself. So if we see it go below 73.18, then the Kiwi is at the moment, being a little bit weaker than the Aussie because the Aussie Kiwi has been going up. So on the daily, again, it's an upward trend trade that's failed. And this price flip on this 74.26 macro level has succeeded in pushing it down. So at this stage, I would be saying that we're heading further down on this. On the 4 hour, we're certainly showing some momentum to the downside, and on the 1 hour as well. Okay, Swiss yen. This is an interesting one because why? Well, it's just coming up to sitting on this 105.09 macro level. So in the weekly, we're seeing certainly, we see a bit of exhaustion. The price has just been gravitating to this 105.09 level. and for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 or 10 weeks. So if we see a crossover here and price pushes up over 106.79, it could be a changing of the tide for the Swiss yen as well. Daily, we're in the middle of an upward daily trend trade. Let's see how it reacts in this 105.09 level. On the 4 hour, we're to the downside, like with the other yen crosses. But again, if we see support here, there could be an opportunity for, say, price flip trade, but only if it's a good retracement and it's closing above that 105.09 level. And on the 1 hour, of course, if we get a trend trade, upward trend trade to the upside, then that could be a good one to get into. Okay, CAD yen. Okay, this is more like the pound, isn't it? It's not showing any clue or change of crossing over, so very much still in the downward trend. But again, it has been going on for quite some time. And again, daily similar, down on the upward, sorry, down on the 4 hour, and indeterminate on the 1 hour. It's been going down for a while, but about to stop. Okay, Euro Aussie, currently long on this trade now. That came out, I think, over a week ago, and it really hasn't got to our targets. It's come, I think, about halfway, but and the reason we took it long was on the basis of this 147.05 macro level that it's just been sitting above for the last few weeks. Okay, so it hasn't been going downward. This could be changing to the upside. If we get that, then that's going to be great. And we could see price go up to a 150.31 or higher. And in the 4 hour, we see it's in the middle of a 4 hour trend trade. Almost crossed over, but didn't. So it's still technically in a 4 hour trend trade. It's above that 147.05 macro level, which is what we want to see. And certainly it'd be great for our members if we saw that continue to go higher, upwards towards 150.31. Technically, we really need to see a good swing here to maintain it. If we see a crossover on the 1 hour, then it's not going to be so good for people going long, and we could be looking at going short. Okay, so pound Aussie, one that's very tricky again because of this pound flash crash last week, so I won't go any further into that. Euro Kiwi, and we'll focus on that because again, the pound Kiwi had this flash crash that I want to avoid at all costs. Weekly, it has been going down, but similar to the Euro Aussie, we're seeing support at a macro level, possibility of a change. It's still a couple of weeks away from a confirmed possibility, but we're daily upward. Okay, so we're upward on the daily and we're upward on the 4 hour. So, this could be a good one to get into, say, on a shorter time frame, like the 15 or 30 minute. Well, that one's just happened, as of about 20 minutes ago to the upside. So, right now, it's not the strongest, not the safest of crosses at the moment, but I think fundamentally it fits in a line with what's happening with these two pairs as well, particularly with the Kiwi wanting to reduce their currency as much as they can. So, so I would say long on the Euro Kiwi. Okay, pound Swiss, I think I'll pass that one. Aussie CAD, upward on the weekly, upward on the daily, and upward on the 4 hour. This could be a nice one. It's this price flip that I'm not too crazy about from the previous bar. But if we see price sustained at this level and there will be a new candle in just a few minutes, then this could be a good possibility for a trade. Aussie CAD going long on that. If we see a move towards the downside, particularly a move below the 10048 macro level, then all bets are off for going long. But for now, it could be a possibility of going long. And EuroCAD, upward on the weekly, upward on the daily, upward on the 4 hour, and in the middle of a correction on the 1 hour. If we see this histogram turn green, then that could be a nice swing to take as well. But out of the two, I'd probably feel more comfortable with the Aussie CAD and pound CAD. I'm not going to touch that at the moment because of the this flash crash uh, conditions. So there you have it. We've got a couple of opportunities coming up that are in play right now, or possibility of getting into straight away or today. And we've gone over some possibilities on all the other pairs. Watch those levels, watch the price, watch what happens in regards to the different trends that occurs. It's always great to get in at the very beginning. Of course, as I said before, as a premium member, you get all of these indicators as a special bonus for premium members. And I hope you do use this market analysis with those indicators to, provide you with some good trading for the week and for the month and ongoing. Of course, there's, a couple of hundred signals that come out a week, but we don't issue them all. We only filter them out to 10 or 15, give or take. So it's, and particularly depending on where you are throughout the world, it's all, we do believe in empowering people. So we do our best with our signals. They have been, we've got a great history that we're very proud of over the last 52 odd months. But we don't have a successful week or a successful month all the time. And as if you want to develop as a trader, it's great to have that independence and be able to trade yourself. So my hope, as well as using our signals as guidelines, use this market analysis that I'm coming out with on a weekly basis, soon to be opening up with webinars as well that will be real time. They will be recorded as well, but you'll have an opportunity to ask questions, and we can go on live trade hunting sessions, to see what opportunities are available to us. So, if you are a premium member and you already have these indicators, make sure that you install them. It's that deployment, that action that you take, to make it a reality. And of course, with Trendcatcher and Pricelet, they do have push notifications as well, so they'll go straight to your mobile device, and you won't miss, any signals, no matter where you are. So with that, thanks very much. Thanks for putting up with my voice, particularly in the second half of this. I wish you good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon.